Hello, Facebook friends and internet friends. uh, my husband and I are here on my Facebook page to talk about the terms of service that we read in the email that we got from Facebook.
So we all received an email recently. Mine came in on Saturday.
Yeah, I think mine came in around the same time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Facebook is changing their terms of service, and it's a big deal out there. There's a lot of chatter out there. A lot of people are getting it wrong. There's some people getting it right. And so we're having this discussion here to kind of go over to let everybody that we're both leaving Facebook before, at the end of the year.
Right, so
they
before
kick
that
in.
January 1st, 2025 date
And
that
this
they
is-
listed in the email.
Exactly, and this is not an easy thing, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are really going to have to think about this and really, think about whether it's worth it to them to continue or to stay on or to leave. I've been on Facebook since probably 2009. I was one of the first users. I mean, I adopted early. I got on as soon as they opened it up to everyday people. Like it started out just for college students on campuses, and then as soon as they opened it up to the public, I joined. And I've been
Wow.
using it since then. And so it
Wow.
might have even been earlier than 2009. It might have been as early as 2005, but I don't remember exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's been a long time.
That's like 20 years on Facebook almost.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So leaving this platform is not an easy thing. However, at the same time, I haven't been using it all that much lately. I mean, I use it to check in on some things. I've used it to check up on some people I used to know, just see where they're at.
Well, also the
Some
local,
of them are active and some aren't.
yeah, the local community here where we live, they use Facebook to update like menu items for their cafe
Right.
or to update their hours. A lot of times when you go to the cafe's website, it links to their Facebook page.
Right, yeah.
So that's going to be a little challenging, but I
It
guess
is.
we'll figure it out.
There's workarounds, So, we don't need to talk about that right now, but what we do need to talk about is why you should probably consider doing this. We're doing it because, there's a lot of privacy issues involved. The emergence of AI technology, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, which is what drives how artificial intelligence works. So machine learning is basically computers using content that you create on Facebook, in this case Facebook, but it happens everywhere, and it follows patterns. It follows things that you do, makes references, makes digital notes to itself on how people speak, what they're interested in, images, facial recognition, places, and it takes that information and cross-references it with other information that it receives. And it could be anything from Google searches to what you're putting on Facebook, to other places. And so, and we've probably all experienced this thing where we're talking about something, and then next thing you know, it's showing up on Facebook as an ad that just kind of pops up on your page in your feed. And so they're also listening into it on us as well. So things like that. So it's important if you are concerned about surveillance, if you're concerned about your personal information being used to generate other content that you didn't generate. I have a couple references, but go ahead and I'll bring those up if you want to talk.
Yeah,
about
so
that.
I think this started because a friend of ours back in Pittsburgh was complaining about how she was dealing with a clone account.
Oh, right.
So there was a clone account of hers with her picture, all of her information, and people were trying to friend that account. And so she said, wait a minute, that's a clone account. So that, to me, that's like the trial balloon for the future. This, to me, that sound, when you get these clone accounts that pop up occasionally, that's AI. That's artificial intelligence at work, at play. And so it's more than just a toy. Right now, they're in the process of using that machine learning you were just talking about to accelerate the artificial intelligence that will ultimately scrape all of the users, all of the photos of the users on Facebook, all of the content, everything they write, and they will scrape it to create a new kind of experience, you know. And I at some point, as a human being, I have to go, okay, enough. Like, maybe it's time to stop posting about that concert we went to and actually just go back to like it was in the 1990s, where we didn't have social media to brag about the fact that we went and saw our favorite band. Like, we just have to capture those memories and put them in a notebook, or take a point and shoot camera and put it in a photo album or something, and go back. Like, we need to start going backwards, in my opinion. And the more we stay on social media, and the more, especially Facebook, and which is now Meta. So that's one thing I was hoping that you could help to articulate for users, is like, is it Facebook or is it Meta?
Oh, okay. So,
you know,
right.
so let's just get away from all of it. This is why I decided to go ahead and use this, you know, live stream option on my personal page to talk about leaving Facebook and what that means.
You know, it's funny. This feels like the ultimate expression of what they call a digital twin, right? And your digital twin is the result of all your internet use that's out there, and it represents you in the digital sphere, right, online. But the other thing too is, I want to make this clear, that this is nothing new. They have been using machine learning and scraping information about you for probably as long as Facebook has been around.
Yeah, as long as there's been an internet, I guess.
Well, as long as Facebook has been around, they've been doing this. Machine learning is relatively new-ish technology. I remember seeing billboards in the Bay Area in San Francisco, driving around and seeing billboards along the highway, and these companies advertising their technology for machine learning. And this is going back 10, 15 years, right? Okay, so this has been going on for a long time, you know, as long as Facebook has been around, but it's only been used to a certain degree, certain point, for, like, say, advertising, like what we were talking about, where, like, you know, you say something in the house, and then
and then next thing you know, you get like swarms of ads on your well, for instance, I mean, this is a really good example. I read an article from CNBC yesterday that the price of gold is at this all-time high. I simply went to the computer and read this article, and then I logged into my Facebook account, and all of a sudden I was getting ad after ad after ad for gold jewelry, like gold-filled jewelry, gold-filled this, gold that.
Okay. So that's the other thing.
So that's
too.
the machine learning at play, right?
Right. Yeah, the AI at play, and you know, and the various algorithms that they've developed that may not be AI related, but it all works with each other. And I think that there was a video that came out a few years ago, and it was really effective in, like, showing how Facebook AI back then, even, like, this is like a few years ago, works to basically keep you in play, keep you on Facebook. And what it will feed you to keep you engaged,
to coming back. And this is where you get into where the early founders of Facebook were saying things like, you know, we generated the feed to be the equivalent of like little bumps of cocaine or little addictive drugs. We knew what we were doing. We knew that we were creating an addictive entrapment scenario to keep people coming back. And we knew we were doing this, and we did it anyway.
I mean, we did it anyway. Right.
So there was right there from the very beginning. Yeah. I mean, even if you go back to the story we're told, which is that the Facebook was originally used to denigrate women,
Right.
you know, to
Like it was in that movie. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know if that's true, but if that's the case, then that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the kind of people that will create a lot of pain for innocent individuals.
Well, the video that I was referring to was, I think Ashton Kutcher was in it, and it was like on YouTube, and it was like a black background, and I think that's who the actor
Ashton
was.
Kutcher from
Yeah.
that '70s show.
Right. Yeah. I think he was the one. Anyway, he was acting as like the AI bot.
Oh, I remember
Remember
that.
that?
That's
Yeah.
from a while ago.
Uh-huh.
I'll see if I can find it. If I
Yeah.
I'll probably put this on my Medium page, and if I do, then I'll try to find that and include it into the piece I write.
Right. Okay. Good.
So-
but this is. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but I wanted to focus on the terms.
Right. So this whole thing is going on is that what we were just talking about, and on steroids.
On steroids.
Okay.
We all got an email around November 22nd or 23rd, and the email was very simple. It said, "Hey Facebook user, we've updated our terms of service. Click here to read them." And that's what we're kind of looking at those right now.
So- I'm not going to go into this too much because there's another thing I want to look at that kind of breaks it down. But if you want to go find this, you don't have to have the email. You can go to Facebook terms, just from the site, terms of service. So you can just look for that. But if you have the email, or you can look for the email in your spam folder
or your inbox.
or your inbox.
Depending.
It ended up in my spam folder.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Anyway, you go to the terms of service, but then there's right underneath the header that says terms of service, there's a little gray box that says we're updating our Meta terms of service. Oh, and you asked a question about Meta. So before I go into this, Meta is sort of the parent company now. So it used to be like Facebook Inc., I think originally or whatever. But what they've done is after they've been buying these properties, like Instagram, they own Threads, and I think they own like another property out there. What's the one chat app?
Oh, WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. I think they own WhatsApp too.
And probably Messenger.
Oh, and Messenger too, yeah. So they have all these little companies, and so they had to they weren't all Facebook, right? So now Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, and Messenger, which is WhatsApp. I'm sorry, yeah, WhatsApp. Snapchat is
I don't know what
yeah.
Snap. I don't know who owns Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
either.
Facebook does too.
Maybe
I
don't know. Yeah,
but
WhatsApp.
so Meta is the parent company
Right,
of all
so-
these companies
right,
now, of
right.
all these platforms.
Right. So
Okay.
these terms of service.
Apply to all of
I
them.
believe apply to all of them. Yeah, Meta terms of service. So this, even if you're on Instagram or these other platforms that are out there, it applies to those as well, not just Facebook. So that's something else to consider. So if you go to that terms of service that you find on Facebook, you can also then look for this. So it says terms of service, and then there's a little gray box with this sort of note, we're updating Meta terms of service. These updates will go into effect on January 1st, 2025. And then there's a link, read the new terms. And if you go to that, then it shows you what the new terms of service are going to be. Now, for your needs, what I would say is you can skip the overview, and you can skip 1 through 4 unless you want to go back. There may be some stuff in number 4 that you want to look at. But go all the way down to, so number 4 is additional provisions. And there may be some things in there that you want to pay attention to. They have lots of stuff in here about community standards. And then disputes and miscellaneous crap. Okay, but then down at the very bottom of the screen is number 5, other terms and policies that may apply to you. And again with the community standards, they've got community standards, commercial terms, community payment terms, commerce policies, music guidelines. Okay, so these are all the things. These were all outlined above. Okay, but now they're condensing them down to this one little area. Go down to the very last one, and it says Meta AI terms. These terms govern use of our generative AI products and features. So they're going to introduce a generative AI product. if they haven't already. I believe that there may be something there. Generative AI is generally used in searches and queries. And so you may have heard of ChatGPT, and also Google has a tool called Gemini or something like that. And you can put in a query like a sentence or a question, and ChatGPT or these other generative AI products will give you back information, and you can actually chat with these things and get a good amount of information and content just out of that query. And a lot of times Julie will use the Google one to find out some really important information about things. Like you were doing that thing on gold. You were doing a little research on gold. And what it does is it goes out and into the whole internet, finds the pertinent information of what it is you're looking for, and puts it out into paragraphs of content that are easily digestible.
Right.
That's what generative AI will do. It also will make graphics and images for you.
Right. So what, not to incorporate too much of another platform into what we're talking about, because ultimately this broadcast is really to talk about why we are leaving Facebook.
But all those things do come into play.
But all those things come into play. So for instance, let's talk about the different blog sites. There's a Medium blog site. There's a blog site called Blogspot. And then there's a blog site called Substack. There is an individual who uses the Substack page or the Substack blog site specifically for detailing U.S. legal codes. So there's no there's no opinion here. It's literally on this date, this U.S. legal code and this U.S. law was passed. Because Substack uses AI training, even if you...
Machine learning,
even if you decide to opt out of it. Let's say, for instance, a pre-law student says, I would like to know the legal framework for U.S. Code 42. So they would simply type in US Code 42 in their search engine, like at Google or wherever. And then the AI then generates every possible response that they can find on US Code 42, including my friend's Substack piece that she writes about US Code 42. And even though she's opted out of
the machine learning,
or what's also called AI training, even though she's opted out of it on Substack, it's still going. There are still other components or other AI generative products out there that can grab her salient analysis of U.S. code and the way she gives it that legal framework to bring to that pre-law student or to that law student.
Right.
Okay. So that's what this. That's so that kind of seems like a good thing, right? So there are people that are like really for it and really want to have that, but at the same time, if you move on into these terms from Facebook, basically Facebook tells a story about the whole system. Like they are using it as, they can weaponize it against you.
Right.
So anyway,
you
can move on into the terms. Thank you for letting me say that. I just wanted to give that as a demonstration.
Absolutely.
To sort of piggyback on what you were saying about how the AI will then use all of those sources that they can about the thing that the user is looking for, right?
Yeah.
So
now here's a weird thing, a term that they're using. They're calling AI, they're using a plural for AI as they spell it capital A, capital I, so artificial intelligence, and then a lowercase s, so artificial intelligences, or AIs.
Multiple AIs, because there are multiple AI software programs out there.
Right.
Like just about everybody is trying to get in on this.
Now, if you click on that link there at the very bottom, it says Meta AI terms. It brings up a whole other page of terms, right? And there's a few in here that I think are really kind of important. Not all of them you need to pay attention to right away unless you really feel like reading this stuff. But there's stuff about, again, the CYA stuff, the cover your ass stuff about, you're not allowed to generate, promote, disseminate, or otherwise use, facilitate adult content, etc. You can't use the AI tools to generate that stuff. Okay. But here's like some information that's kind of interesting. There's a lot here, so I'll try to compress it. And then there's an article that does a better job, But
What about
if you look at number
terms,
2,
right?
if you look at number 2, prompts, results, and other content. Rights to content. AIs allow you to provide materials for processing. I won't read the whole thing. I'm just going to read some of it. Allows you to provide materials for processing, which could include text, documents, images, or recordings, depending on the integration together or using prompts, and will generate a response, outputs, based on your prompts, as well as any feedback you provide collectively. Content. You may not, okay, so what they mean by prompts are, like we were talking about with like ChatGPT, you put in a question or you put in a statement or some sort of, sentence, or with the Gemini product from Google, you put in a question or a query, okay, and it will kick back content. So that's what they're talking about here by what they mean by prompts, because this is a generative AI product. So basically, what it's saying is that you're responsible for the prompts that you create. And the other thing, though, is they have a section here, B, on personal information. And I think what I'd rather do is go, and you can go and look at this yourself. They also have like a section called Meta's Rights and Image Processing. And you could be, you could basically be in violation of their terms here, because listen to this. If you used their AI generative tool and uploaded an image of, say, some people into that generative AI tool, and they lived in Texas or Illinois, and you knew this, you could be in violation because of laws that are in those 2 states.
Right.
Okay, so we couldn't put an image up of us with a friend of ours who lives in Chicago, because we knew that he lives there, because it would be against the law in Illinois. Anyway, so that's an image processing. So what it's going to allow you to do is, like, you can upload a photo of yourself and have it changed. They already have those products, but now they're specifically saying that if you do this, we have total rights to use your image, your content, anything you say, especially if you use it using our AI generative tools.
What if you just put up a selfie on Facebook after January 1st, 2025?
Well, it's still going to, I think what's going on is it will still be under those older, usages that, we've been experiencing all along. But if you expressively just use their AI generative AI tool, to upload that selfie for manipulation or for, other things.
Okay.
So it's going to fall under these
new rules. From my understanding, I thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Facebook is transitioning out of a social media site and into an AI site, where all of these different artificial intelligence programs will be farming all of the information from users on Facebook in order to create AI.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, look, this person is really pretty. Let's throw her into a video, an artificially generated video for a movie, whether it's an adult film, a regular film, a children's film, whatever. And so your image, if you're just on Facebook in general, your image, your content, even your words can be used to incorporate into AI-generated stories, movies, artwork, created content, whatever. And it's open season. So I was under the impression that Facebook, you know, went from being this, hey, let's connect with grandma, you know, because she lives 3,000 miles away or whatever, to everybody who lives on Facebook and has a presence there is going to be what is sourced for whatever artificial intelligence content is made.
And
is
I
that
think,
correct?
I think there's something to that.
Okay.
And so I'm going to read from an article on Medium that we can provide the link to. It says it's called Facebook's New Terms of Service, What You're Giving Up in 2025, and it's by E.R. Burgess. And he's the creator of an organization called credtent.org. That's credtent.org. I don't really know much about them, but he's got some interesting ideas or interesting points here. And one that right along the lines of what you're saying, if you create content, which could be any of us, right? You don't have to be a writer or a videographer or a musician.
Just a
Just
user
user.
on Facebook.
Facebook's new terms should raise a bright red flag. Here's why. AI training ambiguity. Meta admits to using AI and machine learning, but stops short of specifying whether your content is used for training purposes. This lack of transparency leaves creators vulnerable to their work being exploited. Based on past history of this and, frankly, most technology platforms, I'd be inclined not to trust this omission as being innocent. Okay? Now, he goes on, there's a couple more points there for people who are like, you know, writers or whatever, but he goes on to say in a subhead here that says, what's at stake for all users? Even if you're not a content creator worried about your work being used against your future success, there's still plenty to worry about. Privacy. Meta claims it protects user privacy, but vague language about data analysis and AI leaves you wondering how much of your information is truly secure. Account management. Accounts can be and have been disabled by Meta for unclear violations. What happens to years of uploaded content if you're suddenly locked out? This has already happened to me one time because of a scam. I tried to contact support, but Meta made it nigh impossible to do anything about it. Although scammers kept writing to me saying they could restore it for a fee. That's some excellent customer service, huh? Okay, so that stuff has already been going on, but now, again, like we said, this is going to be on steroids.
Right.
Now,
right.
Finally, he says, transparency. The absence of clear disclosure about AI training practices sets a dangerous precedent for big tech. If Facebook doesn't explicitly outline its policies, who will? This is a bigger deal than you might think. If you're posting all kinds of pictures of yourself, your children, and your home. Now, what I want to follow up with is, look, the stuff that I was reading to you from their new policies, okay, and you know, terms of service, were specifically about their AI, their generative AI tool, okay? But there's a lot of content in these terms of services for 2025, and to get through it, you know, you're going to need
You'd
to
have
use
multiple law degrees. You'd have to have a team of lawyers to go through it with you.
The guy
Yeah.
that wrote this article had said outright, he's like, I used ChatGPT or something like it to help me figure out what's going on with what Facebook is doing. And he's like, so use AI to fight against AI.
Right.
But what I guess I'm trying to say is this. It's deliberately written in a way,
Yes.
okay, that's vague and hard for a layperson who is not a contract lawyer to understand. This is written specifically for, you know, a contract, which is uses very specific language, so it may seem vague to you, but it's very specific for
Right.
a contract.
And so it's because
Law.
of that.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I think we've decided that we're just going to exit. We're going to be exiting as of December 31st.
Yeah.
So that'll be our last moment alive on Facebook. After that, we're deleting everything.
Yeah.
Everything we're attached to. We're deleting our own accounts. But the point is, one of the reasons that we're doing this is because of what he was just saying. The vagueness, the lack of transparency. If these contracts and these new terms of services are going to be so complicated and so difficult to read, then that tells me they have something to hide. That tells me they have some kind of plan in the works to weaponize this against people. That tells me that innocent users, like for instance, the nice lady who, who was our neighbor in Pittsburgh, who we know in person, who drove me home from the grocery store many times when she would run into me. She is the reason that we're here, because having this conversation, because she said over and over again, at least in 2 or 3 posts, I'm being cloned.
Right.
My image and my whole Facebook page has been cloned. It's not me. Stop letting me know. Stop. I'm here. This is me. I'm not my clone. And so it got me to thinking, all right, what's going on? Because this has happened a lot. It happened with you as well. I don't even think you knew it, but it did happen with you. I got a friend request from you, my husband.
I didn't realize that.
So, and I was just like, okay, this is AI at work. This is the machine learning at work. They're starting to create digital twins and do all these things. And then we got the email that said the terms of service are updating as of January 1st. So that's why I said, okay, you and I need to sit down and decide, do we really want to move forward in this machine learning, utterly invasive experience, or do we want to pull back from social media, pull back from everything that we're connected to, on social media, and just try to live as normal a life as possible. We still have email. I still have my Medium page that I like to blog on.
I have my art website.
Exactly.
And yeah, so
one of the things that really truly concerns me, on behalf of users who really don't understand how dangerous this could be, are people who are, say, looking for a job. There are a lot of people that we're connected to on Facebook who don't have to work for whatever reason. They're independently wealthy. They can spend 23...
Or they're retired or whatever.
Or they're retired. They can spend 23 hours a day on Facebook posting whatever they want, and they don't seem to have a job. So maybe for those people, this won't really apply. But for those of us who do still need to work and do still need to have some kind of income, what this generative AI or this machine learning or this multiple AIs out there that Facebook is working with now under the Meta Corporation, what it'll do is any future employer, anybody who's looking to hire someone now, can put in the criteria to source or farm or scrape information about the potential employee that they're considering hiring. And say you're interviewing for a job. I know this is going to sound really silly, but say you're interviewing for a job, and the person that you are interviewing with was driving a car, and a cyclist came by and cut them off, and they had a really bad, scary moment in their life because they thought, oh my God, I almost killed a cyclist. These cyclists, they're out of control. Oh my gosh. And so this person has a preconceived judgment against cyclists. Okay. And so you go in and or you're on Zoom and you're having your Zoom call and your Zoom interview, because everything's done remotely now. Hardly anybody goes into an office anymore for a face-to-face interview. And this manager really loves you and is really ready to hire you and decides to do the generative search, the generative AI search on you. And they find out that you are an avid cyclist and that you cycle all over the place. In fact, you've been in cycling magazines and you love to cycle, and you're the kind of cyclist that likes to go on special bike rides in your town. And oh my goodness, you're like, you have 3 bicycles, and oh my goodness. Okay, see what I'm saying? How every little bit of your life is now so exposed through this AI and through these programs. It's going to be harder and harder for people to understand why they can't get hired.
The silos are coming down.
The silos are coming down.
Right.
Exactly.
So it used to be that, you had to be careful what you said on like, say, Facebook, because, like about your job or whatever, because you could get fired for something you said on Facebook, right?
Right. You
Now,
could, and people have.
And people have, and it still exists. But now it's going beyond that. Like I said, the silos are coming down, the walls are coming down, so that information can be found out using Facebook from other sources, or other sources through finding us, because Facebook says they're going to share information with third parties.
And I am that Saturday Night Live scene where those two girls found it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, to me, even though it's a joke. So if you're not familiar, there's a scene where these two teenage girls are in a police station, and these highly skilled and highly trained investigators are really having a hard time finding out where the bad guys are, and these two teenagers who are smacking gum and being totally disrespectful are basically going to every social media account, and within 5 seconds they find the culprit.
Right.
And basically the end of the skit is all these highly decorated investigators and cops are what are we even here for? Why do we even need this department?
Right.
We've got these teenagers can find anybody anywhere through social media. So that's what I'm saying is I have found things barely with just 2 or 3 clicks of a button. I have found things, and I'm just if it's easy for me to do, found it, then
Right.
it's got to be imagine if you're trying to get a job or something.
Right.
So, and then another thing I wanted to mention is that I worry, and this is a little more existential, but I worry that with these new terms and this highly invasive AI learning system, that it will cause people to change their behavior. And we've actually witnessed this behavioral change already taking place on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is nobody can ever be unhappy on LinkedIn. We were on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and JP is connected to somebody he used to work with, and this person was it was totally surreal. It was something out of the book 1984 or something, where he goes, imagine, if you will, going to your weekly staff meeting only to be presented with 2 people you've never seen before, and nobody else is in the staff meeting. It's just you and 2 complete strangers from HR who've told you that all of your work is irrelevant and your entire department is shut down. And it's a 9-minute one-sided conversation, the end, click, and all of your connections go down and your computer stops working, and all of the work and the things you've done are just blank, everything's gone.
Yeah.
And he said this story in this very sort of 1984, super bland,
corporate
dark way. But then at the end, he's happily ready for a new adventure. I'm oh my God, you should be in reality, you should be very upset by this total lack of respect for you.
Right.
Instead, he was putting on the fake plastic smile and smiling too big, and he was just I'm great, everything's great. Or the friend of yours that recently came down with leukemia, who's gosh darn it, I'm great. It's no, you're not. You're probably gonna die. But on LinkedIn, you're not allowed to
Right.
show any kind of weakness or unhappiness or any kind of
It's very corporate.
yeah, you're not allowed to show any kind of disappointment in the system. I'm concerned.
I'm happy to share.
Oh yeah, that's the key. That's the key phrase on LinkedIn. Everybody begins their posts on LinkedIn with the term, "I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share that I am now ready for a new adventure in my career. Anybody hiring, please? I need to pay my mortgage. No, I'm happy to share that my mother just died and went on to better things. I'm happy to share that I had to put my dog down." I mean, this is ridiculous, right? It's this, and that's what I'm concerned about. Users on Facebook would literally have to change their behavior, and they're not. They're not going to do that.
No.
Not after decades of this
Right.
learned
Well-
behavior of either outrage or sharing pictures of their, babies or flowers or concerts or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it
So-
feels like, Facebook has always encouraged, not outright, not they're going, you should do this, but the being there makes you feel comfortable, and you feel comfortable sharing like some stuff that you may not necessarily share beyond just some friends. Right? Your outrage about something, or frustration with somebody, or whatever, or you get into arguments with people that you would normally not have that kind of exchange
Right.
in real life. You wouldn't talk to somebody on the street or on the bus or whatever face to face like that, but
Right.
you feel comfortable doing it on Facebook for some
Right.
reason, and it just encourages that sort of like
It does.
that negative behavior
Yeah.
that you can't get away with on LinkedIn because it's a professional site. So
Yeah.
in that case, you've got
Everybody's like really reined in and controlled.
well, yeah, because you have those expectations already around that. Facebook has been sort of a wide open Wild West kind of situation, even though with the new AI and the new behavioral models or whatever that are coming through there, I feel like you said, people are going to start going, oh,
And people really already are.
yeah, they're like reining it in.
They're really reining it in, pulling it in. So I think that, is there anything else that you read? I felt like this morning when you were reading through the terms that you were like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Well, there was,
Yeah.
there was one part where it was like they basically were covering their ass. I think I read the most important, pertinent items in here. So third-party materials, I don't know if this is pertinent or not. AIs may use or be used in connection with content, services, features, and integrations provided by third parties. Meta is not responsible for your use of third-party content, services, features, and integrations, and you use these at your own risk. This is the CYA stuff. This is kind of ominous sounding. We retain all respective rights, title, and interest, including intellectual property rights in and to AIs, other than the rights and access and use expressively granted in these terms. These terms do not grant you any right, title, or interest in or to the AIs. So that's just basically like, we own this shit, you can't have it.
So,
You can't claim it.
And also, just to clarify, if you continue your presence on Facebook after January 1st, then that is, in their own language, they said that's the equivalent of you basically signing a contract with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. This is number 3, Meta's rights. So you don't have any rights really. They have all the rights in this transactional relationship. Meta's rights regarding content. Meta may use content and related information as described in the Meta Terms of Service and the Meta Privacy Policy, and may do so through automated or manual, i.e. human, review, and through third-party vendors in some instances, including, and then they have this bullet point, so to provide, maintain, and improve. Okay, so basically I think what's going on here is, just like what they have now, they can suspend or take down your account based on just like doodly squat. Right?
Yeah.
But now with the AI being kind of part of this, it puts all of Facebook's previous terms of service and behavior on steroids.
Right.
And it allows them to be even faster in response to like how you're using their tools, and and it kind of goes again, like I'm sure you've heard more than once, when there's commentary or you have dumbass politicians talking about sites like Facebook or now X, Twitter. As it being the now the equivalent of the public square, right? And it's
yeah.
this is the public square and blah blah blah, and it should be and you know Zuck is out there going, no, it's a business.
Yeah.
And then you have like dumbass politicians on the other side saying you can't have freedom of speech on Facebook because it's a business. But the thing is see, it's both, right?
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, you're both right. You know, it's a great floor wax and a delicious dessert topping. Right?
That's also a Saturday Night
Yeah,
Live
that's an
skit
old,
from like
old
the
Saturday-
70s or
Right.
80s.
Right.
It's a dessert topping and a floor wax.
Right.
You can have both. Yeah.
So, you know, and so it's neither and it's both.
Right.
And so it's best to just like walk away. And this is kind of my attitude about a lot of things lately,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Like I said, my biggest concern is the behavioral change, like what we've seen on LinkedIn. You know,
Yeah.
these people are just, I'm sure that LinkedIn is just filled with users who have all sorts of like gastrointestinal issues because people who stuff it down like that, they usually have like digestion problems,
Yeah.
you know. And I would hate to see, you know, my connections on Facebook go suffering like that and having to really just change their behavior
yeah.
and change what comes naturally. So that's the first thing that just really irks me about this whole thing. It makes me really sad. And the second thing too is the lack of transparency and the lack of clear language for people who don't have law degrees, for people who don't understand intellectual property rights or contract obligations between users and platforms, and then AI generative companies and all these different companies that are now going to be scraping or farming all of the people on Facebook in order to create
New content.
new content that lives out there in the AI world. I don't want to see my friends in a thing that they didn't realize that they were being farmed for. Like this is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And if you continue your legacy place here on Facebook after January 1st, that is a possibility in the future. And then, of course, the fourth thing is using it against you in order to keep you from getting that job you need or being in that position that you really need to be in your community. Because you've shared something on Facebook and, you know, because we're all human, we're going to offend each other in some way. There used to be a time when we could coexist within our offenses.
Right. Oh, that was one of the things.
You know?
That was one of the other things, and I won't read it because I can summarize it. But basically, they were saying, you know, using the generative AI tools that Facebook provides are your prompts and, you know, whatever you put in, it's always unpredictable. Facebook is not responsible for any content that the generative AI produces that you may find offensive or
Right.
objectionable. And they said that all in caps, and they had like a whole paragraph on that.
Yeah.
You know,
So that's another red flag.
right? You know,
Like, what
because
the
like
hell?
you could just like put in, you know, Elmer Fudd and diapers, and it comes up with some like really crazy, like pornographic thing that you weren't
Yeah.
intending to see.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and you know, and so that may offend you, but it could also be used against you for some reason.
Yeah,
if it
if they
gets
saw
out
that you
there, right?
clicked on the image or,
Right.
you know, depending on
So-
how far they take it.
Right, exactly. So it's
Like by clicking on the image, you give your approval for it.
right,
You know?
and you may just inadvertently step in it. You know, the
Exactly.
digital poop on the ground,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's, you know, here's all these other like entrapments that may exist out
That's
there.
a really
So-
good term to describe these terms of services. These new terms of service.
Well, that
entrapment.
article, right? Well, that article I was reading on Medium, he used the word entrapment in regard to like content creation. And I have to go back and look to the context of it, but he used that word entrapment, meaning I think is what he meant was that you, like what I just described, you might create something, it gets used in a way you never intended it to be used.
Exactly.
And then it gets used
Exactly.
against you.
Exactly. Yeah. So
you know,
content creators are probably really at risk.
right. And so if you're not on Facebook, you can't be held responsible,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
I know a lot of people are like, what? This is my connection to the world. And I agree. I mean, I like I said, I've been on it for almost 20 years. That's a lot of posting and a lot of stuff that, you know, I can't even remember what I put out there.
Yeah.
There were a few images that, like a series of images that I know I only had on Facebook, that were probably generated through that. Remember that app, or that it's now an app, but like it was a thing that was on Facebook exclusively, and it made like a cartoon image of you, and they had like all these different scenarios.
Oh,
and
sure. I think it was called
what was that called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bitmoji.
Bitmoji? Was that
Bitmoji,
it?
I think it was
Some
what it
people
was.
still use it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's still out there, except before it was an exclusive Facebook thing.
Right.
And I loved that thing. It was lots of fun playing with that.
Yeah, because you like cartoons.
I like cartoons, right? And you can create a cartoon version of yourself, etc. Well, I found all the things that I generated on Facebook, and I downloaded those.
Good.
Because those are things that I knew that I generated that I couldn't find anywhere else.
Good.
Right?
Good.
Everything else, though, pretty much, I rarely did a direct Facebook feed like
Right.
this.
Right.
And what Julie's going to do with this is actually download it and put it other places.
Right.
You know, so you can download these things, but you got to know what what you generated. If there's content out there that you really don't want to say goodbye to, then go look for it. Spend the next month and a half or whatever you have to like look for some of that
Month.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
month, and download it. Because if you do what they suggest, like download your profile information, it's not going to save those images in bulk
Yeah.
like that. Julie knows that from
Yeah,
back
I
in
found
experience.
that out, yeah.
And I would say, you know, if there's stuff out there that you really want to preserve, then find it and preserve it, download it. But otherwise, you know, it's time to pull the plug.
Yeah, it's getting really weird, and there's ways that you can continue to connect with people or us. You know,
Right. And
There's
if-
always ways.
And if you really need a form of expression to get out your frustrations with your job or your coworkers or, you know, just life, go pick up a sport or go do something that's physical and outside and with other people.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And find other ways to express yourself. If you need to write, use the platforms like what is the one?
Medium.
Medium.
Yeah.
Use Substack. There's
I mean, Medium has actually come out openly and said that they are actively working against AI. They're working against AI training, that they are, you know, and I'm sure that eventually they will be co-opted into it as well, because it feels like every part of our digital presence is being absorbed into this AI
Right.
world.
So-
But, you know, I'm still holding out. Medium is the last real blog space that is...
actively saying we're going to try to block those bots.
They're
and
blocking
scraping.
the AI training bots. They don't use AI. They're very, they say, you know, they're very proud of their human element on there. So that's why I stay with Medium, you know. So there will be more to this, I'm sure, as we move along in the next month, and as we get closer and closer to that final date. But for those who are connected to us, who've enjoyed, you know, us on social media, and we've made some connections, we didn't want to just have you guys like wake up one day and go, "What happened to Julie and JP?"
Right, exactly.
You know, so
Yeah.
we'll just keep updating in all the various ways that we can update, and keep, you know, communicating about this over the next month.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
expect, you know, just look for stuff from us out there, you know.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.